Well, hello, and welcome to Trash with a capital T, where we give trashy books and movies the love they truly deserve. And some deserve more than others. I'm your host, Bobby. New videos are posted here every Sunday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. I'm sorry, I'm a little goofy right now because I have tried shooting this video so many times, and I keep having problems getting it through. But then, in the middle of all of this, while I'm researching one of the books that I'm going to talk to you guys about, I find out that there's a new book in this series coming out about this character that I'm talking to you guys about, and I'm so freaking excited. So let's just dive right into it. We're talking about romance. It's a mixture of either books written by gay men for gay men featuring gay male leads, or it could be books written by women featuring queer male leads who may not necessarily identify as gay. Sometimes they even identify as straight, but they just fall in love with a dude. I don't know. Hey, it's a love story. Let it happen. Um, but we're talking about books that kind of this is a recommendation video, but it's also kind of giving you a history of my experience with the genre because even as a gay man, I'm really not that well versed in romance. I have read a bunch of the older stuff, but what's out now is kind of foreign to me. So I'm going to actually start with a call to action in the comments. If you guys have recommendations, especially after you kind of hear what I've enjoyed, drop them in the comments. Or, if you think other people will enjoy the books that you love, drop them down there. I want to get more of these book titles out there because obviously, with heated rivalry, romance is kind of in the spotlight. And here's the thing I love about Heated Rivalry, the TV show. So, first off, it's a great show. I watched it, yeah, super steamy, all that fun stuff. But I actually really love the chemistry between the leads, the really tight focus on the romantic relationship between those characters. I thought it was great. Both the Shane and Ilya stuff and the Kip and Scott stuff, it was really well handled. It balanced the steaminess from the books with really strong storytelling and turned it into a compelling TV show. And I love this because when you look at the romance space, you have two, I don't want to say sides because I don't want to set this off as like people feuding, but you have female fans and male fans and female writers and male writers. And there's always kind of this conflict because some people are upset that so many of the popular books are written by women. I don't care. As long as the books are good, that's all that matters. And as long as they don't have any weird unrealistic things, like one book I read where someone used sunscreen as lube. Don't do that, you'll get chemical burns, and that's a bad idea. Someone should have done their due diligence when writing that book. But anyways, the reason I even bring that up is because the thing I love about Heated Rivalry is because the books are written by Rachel Reed, a woman. The series is created by a gay man. They came together to create something that is now a global phenomenon. So, in this space, I'm going to recommend female authors. I'm going to recommend male authors. I'm going to recommend people I think who just tell compelling queer male love stories. That's what matters. That's all that matters. And we're not even starting with a book that is actually technically We're starting with a book that is actually a straight romance. But, and this book was released in 2004. But in this long-running romance series, it's now up to 20 books as of the end of January 2026. So this book will be out by the time I release this video. In this long-running series, Suzanne Brockmann, the author, decided to introduce a gay couple among all of the straight couples. So if you're not familiar with how romance series work, each book usually, but not always, will usually have a different couple that is focused on. The other couples may still be present and we'll get updates on kind of where they're at, but each book kind of refocuses onto another couple. And Suzanne Brockmann decided she wanted to introduce a gay FBI agent named Jules Cassidy. And she gave him a love interest in up-and-coming closeted actor Robin. And this was almost unheard of at the time. I actually found out about this because when she was writing the series, their big book was called All Through the Night. And that was a novella, a Christmas novella that focused on Jules and Robin's wedding. And this was done as a fundraiser to help fight Prop 8 during the early fight for marriage equality. That's how long ago this was. And yet not that long at all. And it still seems like we're in that fight, but that's besides the point. But the first time I got to really experience Jules and Robin, because I didn't start with All Through the Night, I started with the book I'm going to talk about, which is Hot Target. going to go up here somewhere. Or maybe over here. I don't know where it's going to land. I usually like motion with this hand because that's where I have the most space when I'm filming. But who knows when I crop it. Anyways, so this was also one of the first romance novels I ever read. Suzanne Brockmann's Hot Target is such a fun book. It is big action, lots of fun. She knows her research. She knows her guns, her military personnel. We have characters who are either Navy SEALs or ex-Navy SEALs. But these are people who come in to solve cases, and usually it's got some high action and some good mystery. Hot Target is no different. But the big thing at the time this book came out was the introduction of Jules and Robin. And they would go on to have their relationship develop through other books. Specifically, I believe it's Hot Target, then Force of Nature, which I erroneously said came first in another video. I don't know why I thought that. But Force of Nature, and then All Through the Night. And now, as I find out, Jules is getting his lead book coming out on January 29th called, I have it up here, Jules Cassidy P.I. I did not know this was coming. I am actually really freaking excited because I love this character and I cannot wait to read this book. So now I have something to look forward to. And yes, I'm going to plug that because I'm plugging Hot Target and I think it's a great book. I think it's out of print. The physical copies might be, but if it's not, grab it. It's worth it. Suzanne Brockmann knows how to write. She's a great romance writer. She's been doing it for a long time. But the other thing I love about this is the creation of this character and the creation of his romance with Robin comes from her response to her son coming out. So she wanted to express her support for her son through her art. And she did that by creating a memorable character, which for a lot of readers was the first time they were exposed to gay romance. Now, it is not uncommon now for a major romance series to include queer couples. Usually it's MM, but not always. I know J.D. Ward did it in one of her series, or maybe multiple series. And it's not uncommon with like Harlequin series. I just read one a couple months ago. It's in a video that I actually just turned back on. It's in a video, The Maverick Worth Waiting For. A Maverick Worth Waiting For. I want to say it's by Lucy Greer. If I get it wrong, I'm very sorry. I enjoyed the book. It was my first cowboy romance. Loved it. The majority of the series that follows heterosexual characters, but Maverick Worth Waiting For follows a gay couple. And we still get updates about the other romances, and it was really great. But so it's not uncommon now, but at the time Hot Target came out, it really was rare. And for my little gay heart, I was in my 20s when I read it, but for my gay heart, I freaking loved it. And because of that, I keep hitting my mic. Because of that, I then went out and explored other titles. Now, and going to a bookstore now doesn't guarantee you're going to find MM romance, but it's a little more common. Back when I was looking for the stuff in the early 2000s, in my 20s or my late teens, it really was not there. Now, I did grow up in the suburbs of Chicago. The borders by my house, the LGBT section was tiny. There was no plus or Q at the time. I mean, there were when I was at college, but it was tiny. And most of it was nonfiction. It was like memoirs and health guides and sex guides and history. But you didn't get a lot of fiction. Or if you did, it was more literary, or it was the more like classic queer fiction. You saw like Ruby Fruit Jungle by Rita Mae Brown, James Baldwin's books. I think it's Giovanni's Room. You would see like, I can't say the name of the book, but you would see a lot of that more classic stuff. You wouldn't see more contemporary romances. So I had to go online to find it. And what I found was Josh Lanyon. Now, for people who've been reading queer male romance or MM romance for a long time, Josh Lanyon is well known. I started with Fair Game. That was my first. And I believe at the time it was published by Carina Press, which was an offshoot of Harlequin. And they were trying to dabble in publishing queer romance. And that was one of the first titles. And I fell in love with this book. I then went on to read a ton of Josh Lanyon's books. I read all of the All's Fair trilogy, which I do recommend. I don't know how well they've aged. It's been a long time. The Adrian English books. Art of Murder. Stranger on the Shore was a good one. Winter Kill was a really good one. So obviously I know my Josh Lanyon, but Fair Game was the one. It was romantic suspense. FBI agent, professor, getting involved in these kind of like over the top. If you can't tell, I like my romance to have some thriller elements, and this one brought it. Highly recommend these. Now, I understand for some people, Josh Lanyon is controversial. Josh Lanyon is a woman who, when she started her career, back before the romance genre was what it is now, she chose to use a male pen name so it would be easier for gay men to pick up her books. She pulled a Riley Sager. And I know some readers did not love that. I think there's also some just dated stuff in some of the older books that comes with the territory. Stuff ages poorly sometimes, or, mindsets change. That happens. But I do know for some people that was not something that they enjoyed about her, is that she initially tried to publish herself as a man. I do not care. I'm going to make that clear. I think I've already said it, but I've done this video so many times. When it comes to romance, I do not care if the author is a man, a woman, non-binary, trans. I don't care. If the story is good, if the characters are compelling, that is all that matters to me. That's it. That is all I care about. If I read it and it feels honest and it feels sweet and romantic, or I get swept up in the story, I'm sold. I don't care what's between the readers I don't care what's between the author's legs. I don't care what's between other readers' legs either. But I don't care. I know for some people that is a big sticking point as we move into like more modern but for me, it does not matter. I just want a compelling story. That's it. That's why you're going to see a mix of authors on here who are both male and female. And that's how they identify. Which actually brings us to another author who was very popular at the time, and still is, but who was publishing a lot at the time, Josh Lanyon was, which is Jordan L. Hawke. Now, this one I'm doing more because my husband is a huge fan of his books, the Wittershin series. I have not read those, but I did read Restless Spirits, and I loved this book. Now, Jordan L. Hawke is actually very good about including other representation, including trans characters. So if that's something you're looking for, you will definitely see that. In Restless Spirits, there's a great character in there who we find out through the story is trans. But the book itself is a really good, creepy, supernatural romance. The leads are really, really enjoyable. They have great tension. It is spicy as gal get out. All of these books are pretty spicy. They're all adult romances. And I don't mean adult as in pornographic. I mean like they're written for adults. But Restless Spirits was one of those ones. It was like Fair Game. It was another revelation to me. Like, oh, there's all of these different kinds of books out there. These different kinds of queer romances. Oh my God. So I got swept up in all of that, but I've fallen off until a couple years ago when my office book club decided to read The Lightning Struck Heart. Now, this is one I actually recommended. It's by T.J. Klune, who is probably better known for books like Wolf Song and House by Cerulean Sea. He is currently a New York Times best-selling author, but he started out writing romance or gay romance for Dream Spinner. I don't even know if they're still around. I know they pulled some shenanigans with paying their writers. T.J. Klune was at the forefront of kind of like pushing for them to give people their money and like calling them out. He really stepped up his game there. But out of his deal with Dream Spinner, we got the first Virginia book, The Lightning Struck Heart. The best way I could describe it is if you took Discworld by Terry Pratchett and mixed it with Shrek, and they had a really gay baby. That would be The Lightning Struck Heart. The book is hilarious. It's witty. It's fast. If you listen to the audiobook, it's like listening to a cartoon. The reader does a ton of voices. He really gets into it. There's sound effects. If that's not something you like, read the physical book. Because I know people, it felt like overload for them to listen to. For me, I loved the audiobook. And that carries into the other books in the series. Now, with that one, you can read the first one and it ends and it feels like a complete story. There is some opening for what comes next. But once you start book 2, which is, I believe, Destiny of Dragons, once you read book 2 really is, you start the main plot of the rest of the series. And I enjoyed book 2. The tone gets a little more serious. You meet an emo dragon there who can make trees grow in the desert. He turns into such a sweet character. Oh my god. Oh, I need to reread those books. Sorry, just thinking about that series. And it is fantasy. It's romantasy. It is definitely early romantasy. It leans into more humor than you would probably expect. It does. There's a lot of jokes. The main character's best friend is a hornless gay unicorn named Gary, who ends up in a relationship with a Scottish dragon. Um, but all of these characters, you fall in love with them. Like, as goofy as they are, you do fall in love with them. And one of TJ Klune's strengths, in my eyes, is he is great at creating stories that are about found family as well as the romantic aspect. He blends that really well. You see that. I didn't choose Wolfsong because I know there's some people are uncomfortable with the main relationship in the first book, but you see that in Wolfsong, and you really, really do see that with The Lightning Struck Heart. I highly recommend that. If any book out of all of the books I'm recommending, that is the one I'm like, do it. If you want a good romantasy that has a great sense of humor, that is a great one. And love that book. Love that book so much. So that kind of kicked me off again, and I read a bunch more. And then I saw an ad. I saw an ad on Facebook from Harlequin. And it was for their mainline books. I always check them out. I have a love for Harlequin. I love is it category romance? I know the actual term. I'm just probably saying it wrong. But I do enjoy those books. And the ad pops up, and I had teachers who actually wrote for them when I was in. I got a degree in fiction writing. Yeah, great, useful degree. But I got the degree in fiction writing. Because of that, I took a class with an author named Patricia Rosemore, who wrote for Harlequin at the time. I've talked about her before. I've actually talked about this all before in a different video. So they always have a special place in my heart. And the ad pops up, and I notice one of the covers has two guys on it. I'm like, that can't be right. They don't publish, and I click on the book. It's for the Harlequin Special Edition line. So those are the ones that are a little chunkier. They tend to be a little more developed. And yes, it was an MM romance. It was The Best Man's Problem. I teared up when I saw that. I rushed out, got a copy, read it in a day. And is it the most groundbreaking romance? No. Is it a really enjoyable, solid romance? Yes. It's very good. It's very fun. It's sweet. It's heartfelt. You move through the story learning all about the hardships of these characters. One of the characters survived a massive earthquake in, I believe it's Haiti. And he was actually trapped in an elevator, and he suffers from claustrophobia after that. I think I've reviewed this book in another video. And if I have, it was probably several months ago, so I'm just going to talk about it again. But there is so much heart in this book. I highly recommend it. But I also love the fact that Harlequin now fairly regularly under their imprints, their series imprints, so like intrigue, suspense, historical, medical. Medical has a ton. I don't know. So historical has some sapphic. I don't think they have any MM. I don't believe heartwarming or romance have MM. I think romance might have some sapphic or a sapphic book. But they incorporate in there. And then you got Afterglow, their new line, which I know some people don't love because it replaced Desire. But Afterglow features queer love stories all over the place. And if you're looking for own voices, where you're looking for the author to reflect the characters, so it would be like a queer man writing a queer love story, they actually make a point to publish romance novels about queer men written by queer men. And it's something I really appreciate. And they really, the beautiful covers, these are books that are landing in major retailers. That's kind of awesome. Harlequin's really stepping up. So, and that brings us to now. I'm starting to listen to the first Game Changers book. I'm always keeping my eyes out. Now I realize I have to freaking pre-order Jules, Cassidy, P.I. by Suzanne Brockmann, because I didn't know it existed until today, and now I can't wait to read it, and it looks like it's about 600 pages, so it's also a behemoth, but it sounds like it'll be worth it. All right. So that is going to be my wrap up for my MM book recs, or just me rambling about my experience with the genre and love for it, and how I'm trying to kind of see what's out there. What else would you guys recommend? Talked about a bunch of books that I've enjoyed, like the romantic suspense, supernatural romance. I do read straight romance. I love me some Nora Roberts. And actually, one of her last books, I want to say it was The Inheritance. While the main romance was all heterosexual, all of the side characters turned out to be gay, or most of them, and I freaking loved it. It was adorable. I loved that book. I love Nora Roberts. I think her books are Midnight Bayou. I'll say that she'll get her own recommendation video down the line. But sorry, I'm rambling. I'm just having so much fun talking about this stuff. And if you want trash, these are the books that are considered trash, which is sad because they're considered trash because they're written mostly for a female audience. That's why. A lot of these books are great books. They're well written. They're fun. But because it's considered reading for housewives, people consider it trash, which the sexism and misogyny, not going to get into it. Not going to get into it. Okay, I need to wrap this up. All right, calming down. So I'm going to go with my regular send-off. Do the little housekeeping. New videos every Sunday, 8:30 a.m. If you like what you like, if you liked what you saw, hit the like button. Hit the like button. It helps me. It helps that the channel makes me feel good. If you want to see more of my stuff, subscribe. I post really regularly. I like to schedule out for in the future, so there's always a ton of content. And love what you love. Enjoy what you're reading and watching, and have an amazing morning, afternoon, or evening. And I will hopefully see you all in the next one. Bye, guys.